Well, good evening. Welcome, everyone. For those of you that are joining us tonight, I know with all the restrictions from the virus we have that we didn't anticipate a huge crowd, but pleased to see those of you that did come show up. We are doing something a little unusual tonight. In addition to those of you that are here, we are live streaming this meeting, so our homeowners who want to can watch it on their personal computer. So we don't know how many that'll be, but they're welcome. I say welcome to you too, however many there are of you out there. So thank you for coming. Before we get started, I want to introduce some people that are here. We have City Manager Paul Grimes. I know he's here. There he is, right over there. Council Member Rick Franklin, right next to him. We also have from CMA, our management company, Rob Coop, the Executive VP in the back, and Bill Partridge, the Chief Financial Officer. Thank you guys for being here tonight too. So, also we have our Board of Directors here. I'm John Dell'Antonio, I'm the Board President. We have Norm Counts, our Vice President and Treasurer, Jim Norton, our Secretary, Christian Varshan, Director, Joe Kloss, one of our directors who will not be here this evening, Amanda Batson, Director, and James Berkeley, and we thought we saw him, but I don't see him, so I'm not sure what happened there. Hopefully he will be here soon. He's on his way. Okay. So I want now to take a moment to officially call the March 4th, 2021 Stonebridge Ranch Community Association Annual Meeting to order. And with that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our Director of Operations, Greg Herbst.
Thank you, John. So now that the meeting is called to order, I'll tell you that we do have a quorum established through the electronic voting process. And the proof of notice of the meeting was a message that was a letter that was mailed out to all homeowners at the end of January. So the first order of business is approval of the minutes from the March 5th, 2020 annual meeting. Hope that those of you it's in your packet. For those of you that haven't looked at it, if you would take a quick look at it, and I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes. I see a name here, Mary Patrick. Do I have a second? Second here. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. The next item that I'll do is to introduce our candidates and allow you to start the voting process. Before I go through the names, those of you that have not voted electronically and are casting a ballot here tonight should have those. And if you would complete those once we've introduced the candidates and pass it to the end of the row, we'll have somebody come through and pick those up from you. I don't think we're going to have a lot of ballots tonight, so that should be very easy. We will give the final results of the election. We'll have them ratified in the morning by a member of the City Council. And once we've got that done, we will post them to the website. That'll happen no later than 3 p.m. tomorrow, hopefully earlier. We will also have a random drawing of all of the voters for the two assessments for 2022. And those winners' names and addresses will be posted on the website as well. So first, let me go ahead and introduce the candidates, and I believe we may only have two here, but we'll run through the names just in case somebody has snuck in and not told us. The first candidate is John Dell'Antonio. Alex McGinnis. Is Alex here? No. Susan Ross. Scott Gunderson. Jim Norton, behind me. Michael Warner. So we have the two candidates that are here. Hopefully you've looked at the the bios and the videos and are familiar with the candidates. So for those of you that have ballots, go ahead and mark them, and we'll continue with our presentation. First, I'd like to just show you the list of folks that are part of the CMA management team, the on-site team. This represents all facets, and I'm not going to read each name, but I'll highlight a couple of the functions that we have. In addition to the general administration, we have our community services activity, we've got our maintenance activity, our lifestyle, our compliance, as well as communications. So we've got a broad range of people doing a lot of things. We thank them for all of the work that they do each and every day. This is a slide that kind of depicts what the role of your board of directors is. And the major thrust that they have is protecting homeowner values. And they do that in a variety of ways. And you'll hear some of the things that they're doing tonight. Supervision of the association business is another part of their job, looking at contracts, insurance, financial management, and collections. Work to lead the governance of the association by developing policies to manage the association and guide the daily operations. And finally, fostering community, providing an oversight of facilities and activities to promote interaction among homeowners. And so with that, I'm going to give it back to John Dell'Antonio, who will continue with the next part of our presentation.
Easier for me to talk without the mask, and I think I'm safe enough from everyone, hopefully. Whoops, well, I skipped ahead. There we go. This is an organization chart of the way our board is organized, and you can see, in addition to myself, that we have 6 board members. Each board member is assigned a committee to be liaison to the committee to bring actions the board, any information the board would like for the committee to know, and then bring the actions of the committees to the board. The committees are of vital importance to our board of directors because of the work that they do. Without the committees, most of the activities that go on at the association just wouldn't happen. There's far too much information for our board to handle. Our average board meeting every month is 5 to 6 hours as it is, and we deal with what we have to deal with, but it's a lot. So you can see up here, Norm Counts, you will hear from each of these board members tonight, and they'll talk about what's happening in their committees. Norm Counts, our Vice President and Treasurer, who will be up next, is going to talk about finances. Jim Norton, our Secretary of the Landscape and Grounds Committee. Christian Varshan, Director of the Modifications Committee, another really busy committee. Joe Kloss, who's not here, but we will have a presentation that Greg will make for him for the Social Committee. Amanda Batson from the Communications Committee, and Jim Berkeley for the Amenities Committee. Now I'm going to talk about some things, Board of Directors report in general. This year was quite an interesting year for us for a variety of reasons. But we did review and revise our strategic plan, something we've been doing for the past 7 years when we initiated doing that. And the reason we do it is that we found that by having a day-long session and going through it, that we can take a look at what we managed to accomplish during the current year and take a look at next year, the things we'd like to address, and then take as much of a look as we can for future years. And it's helped us to become a much more proactive board instead of reacting as we used to be. Despite COVID-19 restrictions, we did hold 77 social events this year, including 4 music events, Stonebridge Ranch Day, Christmas tree lighting, Ghost Walk, Tag a Truck, bingo, although we did have to limit attendance, wine tasting, cars and coffee, and 3 recycling events. Also, both of our pools were open during the swim season. most of the homeowners association in this area did not open their pools at all. So we were really pleased that we were able to do it, although we did have to restrict attendance because of the restrictions placed upon us by the state. But it worked out just fine anyway. We never had to close the pool. We did install online capability to allow homeowners to participate in the board and other meetings from home using Zoom, and that's helped for those who want to watch our meetings but can't make it. They can watch them from home now and participate. We initiated our own Facebook page, Stonebridge Ranch Community Association, and began a texting initiative to improve our communications capability. Well, COVID also caused us some challenges, but we did the best we could to manage with them. We did follow all CDC and state directives. We are committed to safe procedures for all staff and homeowners. The office did close and work remotely during the first 2 months of the virus orders. When they reopened, masks were required for all staff and visitors, and that continues today. A plexiglass shield was installed at the reception desk for protection for our receptionists. We have physical distancing of staff as required, temperature checks, and increased cleaning and sanitizing protocols. I'm pleased to report, at least during the last year, we did not have any illnesses from COVID that we're aware of. We did follow all guidelines for social activities and amenities, and all events received approval from the mayor for us to have them, which was a requirement. We did observe strict capacity limits and distancing protocols for all events, and I'm sure those of you that attended the events know just how we handle them. This year, we have 9,415 homes in Stonebridge Ranch, which makes us the largest homeowners association in North Texas, and maybe even Texas, although we're not 100% sure of that. We did have 782 new homeowners move into Stonebridge Ranch during 2020. That's down a bit. In normal years, we have about 1,000. But there was a little less movement, people moving in, but fewer people moving out. We are also actively involved with TxDOT on the US 380 bypass project. Most recently, TxDOT has proposed a new alternate route that is far north of 380 that crosses Custer Road before it enters back into 380 on the west side. And we are actively supporting that and paying close attention to what happens there. We also contracted 3 new landscape vendors beginning on January 1st of 2020. They have done an outstanding job for us this year. We've had minimal complaints once we made those changes, so we're pleased to have them. We continue to have a strong financial position, which you will hear about shortly from our treasurer. And one question always comes up is about our annual assessments. How do they compare to those other associations in our area? We compared our annual dues against 16 other associations in the area. We try to do it with large ones that have similar amenities, but there aren't any as large as we are. But we try to do the best we can to pick those that are similar in many respects to ours. There were 3 associations with lower dues and 13 with higher annual dues in Stonebridge. This puts us in the bottom 5th of annual dues. In 2011, our annual dues were $725. In 2021, they're $840, an increase of $115 over 11 years. That's an average increase of $10.45 a year, or less than $1 a month, or an inflation rate of 1.55%. Here is a chart of the homes of the associations we compared ourselves against, and you can see the number of homes, their annual dues, and the kinds of amenities that they have. I'll let you take a minute to look at those. I have a second chart coming up here. This year, we were able to get more information. And here's a second chart. You will notice that many associations' dues are more than double ours. So we think we give you a lot for your money, and So I want to take a moment now and talk about our strategic plan. The very first part of our strategic plan is our vision statement to be the premier master plan community in North Texas, and our mission statement, which is to preserve and enhance the quality and natural beauty of Stonebridge Ranch for our residents by offering attractive amenities, active lifestyle opportunities, and leadership which protects property values and the financial health of the community. In everything we do, we try to adhere to that mission statement because it's very serious for us. This year, when we updated our strategic plan, it contains 8 elements, and you'll be hearing a lot about each of these elements as we go through tonight's presentations. We have a communications action plan, water conservation plan. You'll certainly hear more about that because water is one of our biggest expenditures. Financial and operational health of the association, project management. We are always trying to reduce the modification committee workload because it is quite heavy. And we're going to benchmark other large homeowners associations to see how we compare with them. We have governmental issues. We work very closely with our governmental agencies, particularly the City of McKinney, and board and committee development. Those are some of the major elements that we're going to be working on. As president, my job is to focus on city and state government issues which could affect association operations. The City of McKinney now meets with presidents of all homeowners associations in McKinney on a quarterly basis. The purpose is to align activities with the city plans and listen to, our issues, and we hear what the city has planned. Unfortunately, because of the virus, we were not able to meet during 2020, but I know there are plans to get us all back together sometime during this year and start those meetings again. So that concludes my report. And next we'll move to committee reports. And our first one is the Finance Committee and our Vice President and Treasurer, Norm Counts. Norm?
Okay, thank you, John. First off, I want to introduce one of our partners, Sam Timothy. He's here from Timothy and DeVolt Company. They do our audit each year, so the financials that you saw in your packet tonight are from our audited financials that we just wrapped up prior to this meeting. So we also have another partner, Cadent Capital. I don't believe anybody's here tonight from Cadent. They help us with our investment portfolio, and we work with them along with our finance committee to manage our long-term investments of the association. Okay, our committee members has a rich and diverse group of financial professionals that support the finances of the association. All of them work in the finance industry some way. Some work in banks, some work as investment portfolio managers, and some have worked as bank auditors, but they're all bring all sorts of different perspectives that are really a real help to the board. And I'm really greatly appreciative of their time and commitment to help us out. We've got one member that's been with us since the association was under developer control. And so we really have a long history there too that we can have that reach back capability from that member to know the history of Stonebridge and where we've come from. And we really appreciate his contributions. Okay. The scope of the Finance Committee covers several different areas. The first is the operational budget. The Finance Committee gets to see the budget about a month or before the board sees it. And they actually comb through that budget, looking at all the underlying assumptions for every ledger account. We do forecast at the ledger account level. They challenge our management company on where the different numbers come from, any variability you might see in those accounts during the year. We also look at the various revenue sources and challenge those as well. And so they do a great, and then they wrap it all up with a management report to the board that they use in consideration of the final budget that we adopt in October. Another task that they're involved in is the long-term investment portfolio will accumulate dividends and interest. We don't automatically reinvest those in the same accounts that generated those. We'll actually sit down with our financial advisor and decide how we want to distribute those, see if we want to buy any new funds or things like that. We also rebalance the portfolio at least once a quarter. And so they're actively involved in looking at the underlying assets of that, and we do some deep dives where we actually do an X-ray examination of all of the underlying assets, where they fit, trying to make sure that we're managing the diversity and we have a well-diversified portfolio. So, and then finally, the board does give us special projects to work. Some come out of the strategic initiatives that John's talked about. Some are just little tactical go-dos, but we work those as well. In terms of the strategic plan, one of the key things that the Finance Committee has done is they've developed a cash flow model using an investment advisor's tool where we can project our association cash flows multi-years into the future, and then we can run simulations against that to determine where our stress points might come. So while they're working tactically on the individual budget, they're also working strategic on our long-term cash outlays. And they've got that tool they developed, which is really great. We're also able to do that with our portfolio modeling. We can do some long-term investment portfolio modeling also with projected rates of returns and that sort of stuff, at different asset mixes to help us position our asset mix correctly. And then, as I mentioned before, we will do an independent analysis to lay that up against what our financial advisors bring into the table to compare our analysis versus theirs versus where we think we should deploy our assets. In terms of the revenues this year, it was an interesting year. Typically, our revenues are very predictable. This year, we had two major things that caused us to underrun or have less revenue than our budget predicted. First, our short-term cash is managed very conservatively in either FDIC-insured bank accounts or short-term treasuries. We started out the year in earning about 2% per year on those treasuries, and by the end of the year, we were down to a few basis points. So we lost quite a bit of projected revenue based on the treasuries that we were getting. The other place that we get revenue that's usually pretty solid is we rent out a lot of our amenities. We'll rent the pavilions at the pool, we'll rent the community room out, and with COVID, those rentals just were not possible due to social distancing and things like that. We didn't feel it was the right thing to do to make those available and put our homeowners at risk, so we lost all that revenue. And so we did have to go manage our budget this year, knowing we were going to be short about $200,000 from a revenue standpoint. From an expense perspective, again, COVID affected that. John talked about that our pools were open, but they weren't open as long as we wanted them, but they were at least open where a lot of the associations were not able to open. And we also had COVID affect our social activities. We had 77 events, but again, that was not as many as we wanted to have, and it didn't happen in the time frame we wanted them. So we underran our social event budget and and then we also had some discretionary costs that we were able to manage, knowing our revenues were going to be down. And so we were able to offset our revenues with the discretionary expenditures that we deferred or delayed or just didn't spend. One area that was a challenge to us this year was water. John's talked about irrigation. We are among the top 10 water users in McKinney, and this year when we were doing our budget, the first word from the city was, we're not going to raise rates, maybe 2%. So we built our first budget based on the rates not changing for 2020. And then they came back right in the middle of our budget cycle and said, well, not only are the rates going to go up, but we're going to add another tier to the structure. And most of our watering is at that higher tier. And so we had to scramble and re-put our budget back together. with this new tier. And then they came back later and said, no, we're not going to have that tier, that water conservation tier. We're just going to raise rates across all of our tiers. So it turned out the weighted average of the consumption for us went up 14% in 2020. And that was part of the challenge, was trying to manage all of that water within that increased budget. And so we were not able to fully mitigate that, but we mitigated a lot of it. What I wanted to talk to here is how we actually did that. We pulled a team together made up of our staff, CMA, pulled our water consultants, Smart Outdoor Services, as well as our landscape management companies. We actually sat down and did a complete bottoms-up analysis of what is it we're watering. We went through every area and we quantified how much of the acreage is trees, how much is shrubs, how much is turf, and how much is annuals. And we quantified the whole 500 acres to know exactly how much of that we had to water. Working with some of the, like Texas A&M University and some of the others, we worked with them to come up with a model for how much water should we be putting down. And the answer was 1/2 an inch effective watering. And so there's a lot of things that affect that. How much rainfall is it? What time of the season is? How much evaporation are you going to see? And for and foremost is, what are you watering? Are you watering turf? Are you watering trees? And so we actually developed a formula for every type of zone that had a unique plant material. And then what we had to do was develop a unique program month by month based on seasonality that we were going to program into every one of our controllers and zones. And we have 250 meters times 3 to 4 controllers per meter times 6 to 8 zones per controller. So you can imagine how many individual programs we had to set by month. Luckily, we invested several years ago in a system from Weathermatic where all that could be programmed over the internet. And also, if we have any weather events like rain or things like that, we can shut everything off across the whole association from an iPad. And so based on implementing that watering protocol, we were actually able, as you can see from this chart, we were able to conserve about 27 million gallons versus what we thought we were going to water. The other fact that's kind of interesting is, given the total volume that we put down, that's equivalent to filling up about 15,000 swimming pools a year. That's a lot of water. Okay? In terms of our long-term investments, those underwrite the reserves of our community, which is a fund set aside for the repair and replacement of all the assets that we have. Those include 35 miles of fencing that has to be replaced. It includes all of our monuments, all of our landscaping, which ages out, and periodically we have to take some old trees down that are damaged or aging and put new trees in. We've got 2 pools and all the equipment associated with the pools. We've got multiple playgrounds. We have buildings to maintain, and we also have lakes. We actually dredged our first lake this year over on Winter Haven, and we're going to dredge another lake over at Quail Creek this year, and those are not inexpensive undertakings. So it's very important that we accumulate assets ahead of time so the money's in the bank to be able to do those projects when they come up, and we don't have to take it from current period assessments. Okay? And you can see from the portfolio of how we manage that. In our long-term investment policy, we actually have a goal of trying to reach CPI plus 3%. And that's a goal we've been able to consistently hit, even with our conservative approach. We do have a mix right now of 55% equities and 45% fixed income. And so within that, we've got a way to risk manage the growth. We use low-cost index funds. We use higher quality bonds. We don't go into the lower quality bonds. and we don't use any kind of leverage. And that's all detailed in our long-term investment policy, and we very strictly manage to that. Okay? In terms of our investment policy, this graph shows how we have performed against that CPI plus 3, and you can see we're just right on it. And so that's given us a very predictable return on our investment that we can count on from year to year in terms of managing the assets against those reserve requirements. Some would ask, well, how do you come up with a reserve requirement? So we have a very detailed inventory of every asset in the association. We bring in a licensed reserve engineer that goes through, and we estimate the remaining useful life on every asset. And then based on that useful life, that tells you how much money you should have in the bank. So when you have to repair it, you want to be at a point where you have 100% of it covered. And of course, this is part of the scope of what Sam and his team did in terms of verifying that we had sufficient asset coverage and we were judged healthy. And we did have sufficient coverage for those. We started back at the beginning of the association. We've contributed about $3 million to those assets directly out of assessments over the years. And on top of that, the return we've generated another $5 million. So we currently have $8 million accumulated, and that's exactly where our reserve study says we should be. On a typical year, we will spend about $1.2 million repairing and replacing our assets. And so with about an $8 million budget, you can see we're spending 1/8 of our budgets just committed to replacing and repairing our assets. Okay, the next director to speak is Kristen Varshan. She's going to speak on the Modifications Committee as well as our Appeals Committee. Welcome, Chris.
Hello, thanks Norm. As Norm said, I'm Kristen Varshan. I'm the liaison for the Modifications Committee, and I'm also the chairman of our Board Appeals Committee. Our Modifications Committee is made up of 6 members. They work extremely hard. We have a chair and a co-chair, and they review the modifications for the association. We also work in conjunction with a architect consultant. He works for us on an as-needed basis, and our compliance support team helps us out tremendously as well. And for the committee, it's responsible for compliance support. They assure modification applications meet village and master design guidelines, along with our CCNRs. They have a great deal of knowledge, and they learn a lot as well. They review applications, and they reference our large modification document, which is over 60 pages of guidelines and thousands of pages of sub-association guidelines. And from time to time, they have to reference our CCNRs as well, which is a rather large document. Their time commitment is, on average, about 10 hours a week reviewing applications, which is done electronically on a database. The committee does meet twice a month on a Tuesday evening to hear appeals for modifications as needed. They provide the first level of homeowner appeals. In 2020, they reviewed 2,001 applications. This includes new construction as well as existing home modifications. Now, if you want to submit for a modification on your home, most things you do on the outside of your home, you do have to submit for an application and get approval from our committee. And if you have any questions about that, you can call into the office, and our staff will be happy to answer any questions you have. You can submit those applications. You can submit those applications online, or you can drop them off in our office. You can even meet with our staff, and they'll be happy to answer any questions on an appointment basis. I think I went ahead too far here. Nope. Where am I? Yeah, I went too far ahead, though. All right, thanks. Sorry. We did a couple different things in 2020. He's doing it for me. Thanks. We added, got to our guidelines, the ability for homeowners to put polycarbonate roofing panels on their arbors. That was a change this year, one of our significant changes. And one of our strategic initiatives was to kind of help the modifications committee with their workload because they are a very hardworking committee. They have a lot of work. So what we did was we split the committee into 2 subcommittees so that they each review certain types of modifications. And they are always looking for volunteers, so if anyone would like to sign up, please contact our office and they can send you an application. We'd love to have another member join. And as I said, I'm the chair of the Appeals Committee. That's a subcommittee of our board, and they provide second-level appeals for modification requests and first-level homeowner appeals for violations. We meet on the Thursday evening the week before the board meeting on a Thursday evening. And this provides our homeowners an after-hours opportunity to attend their appeal with the board. We also review time extensions, requests for modifications and violations. We review board-directed fines for violations as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to our landscape and grounds liaison, Jim Norton.
Thank you, Kristen. Before I get started, I'd like to make a couple of comments. One, I'd like to recognize the board of directors and the committee persons' spouses. They give us support, a lot of times a lot of understanding, and I just want to recognize them. I also want to recognize our homeowners. We can get up here and say all we've done, and the landscape crews do a good job, which they do, but our homeowners do an excellent job also. Since I've been on the board, I travel all over, look at all the different streets and see all the beautiful homes and people working in their homes. Even with people who have landscape companies, I see residents out there tweaking the, cleaning out their shrubs, their flower beds and stuff. So I just want to recognize them because maintenance is a big problem. Take like your hair. You know, I don't have much maintenance on my hair, but there's a lot of people who do. Not my wife, but you know, some people do. This is what makes up our landscape committee. We have 2 co-chairs, one for hardscape, one for landscape, and we have our secretary. Our secretary does a wonderful job, and she puts it on the Stonebridge website. So anytime you want to see what's new in landscape, you can go to the website and look at the history. So we do have a good job in recording what we do at our meetings. Another thing, when I'm talking tonight, if I talk about we, it means the whole committee. You see the committee here. The one that you may not recognize is Ed Jensen for OLM. OLM is our third-party contractor, and what he does is he comes once a month, not only to our HOA, but other HOAs in the area and other parts of the United States. That company go and they inspect the inspections. So it's a third party, so there's no, it's a pair of cold eyes, and they give a report, and that report is a good work list for any deficiencies that we may have. I'm leaving this up. Tonight I'd like to focus on the LNG work beyond the formal once-a-month committee meeting of the members. The committee firmly believes that every LNG maintenance project, whether landscape, which is anything that's alive, or hardscape, which includes monuments, towers, lightings, and walls, involves inspecting the quality of materials, determining the need for refurbishment, and the proper investment of homeowners' funds. LNG must justify the why and not just spend the budget. To serve as a member of this committee, one must be willing to participate well beyond the formal meetings and enjoy working with one another on various landscape and hardscape projects throughout their completion. Currently, the committee is looking for a new applicant who meets that criteria, and we hope one of you listening will consider an application to serve on the LNG committee. The mission is to assist the board in identifying and completing beautification and maintenance projects. The strategy is we aim to refresh our common areas, medians, parks, and entrances to preserve and enhance the natural beauty of Stonebridge Ranch. And I'm going to take some time to give you some detail. The duties: conduct periodic inspections of hardscape and landscape to identify specific projects for committee approval. Establish priorities and cost estimates for both hardscape and landscape projects with the goal of maintaining and enhancing the beauty of the association common area. Provide oversight on specific hardscape and landscape projects. This excludes scope, design, cost estimate, and the necessary, if necessary, board director's approval. Provide oversight for hardscape and landscape replacement policies to help guide the maintenance supervisor and landscape and grounds manager in maintaining the common areas. Selection of seasonal colors for spring and fall for community and village entries. Review the landscape inspection report from OLM for opportunities for landscape improvement. And provide input to the communications committee in support of hardscape and landscape articles to homeowners. And you may remember we've had a few articles highlighting our landscape around Stonebridge, and Erica does a wonderful job in these personal articles, and we appreciate that. The second is landscape and grounds project flow chart. How do things get done? Annual projects list established by the committee. Annual business plan submitted to the board for approval. Land and hardscape project and bid approved by landscape and ground committee. Projects submitted to the board for approval and release of funds. LNG project schedule performed and approved. Vendor invoice received and compared against bid. Invoice by project name approved or rejected. If rejected, CMA will resolve with vendor. Approved invoice to accounts payable for coding and payment. Committee confirms the project is completed. Commitment to quality. Volunteers conduct research and site studies to ensure that each project is a justified expenditure. The volunteers are truly committed and give their time beyond their monthly meetings. The current committee has one open position. Interested? Submit an application. I'd like to touch on the three sections, A, B, and C. You can see where the vendors that are responsible for these areas are listed. Section A has 38 villages. Section B has 66 villages. Section C has 74. Now, many of the villages have more than one entrance, so we have many more monuments than just one per village. Hardscape and lighting tours. Our volunteers physically inspect our common areas on a rotating biannual or semi-annual basis to identify maintenance needs. We inspect areas A and C in 2020, 145 monuments, 170 stone columns, 679 lighting fixtures. And we will inspect areas B and C in 21 that we didn't complete in 20. Landscape revitalization. We completed updates to many areas, including our main drive and circle on Virginia Parkway. Now, if you remember last year, I reported the completion of the entrance, which was in 2020. You saw that picture last year, and you've seen it, but we finished it on the inside where we are adding more color. These things, and we're expanding a lot of our monuments, our entrances, and here's why. Expansion of the monument plan areas for fall and spring annuals. One, it agrees with the LNG Committee's strategy for enhancing beautification, landscape, cleanliness, and home value. Eliminates the need to remove and replace plants and bushes every 5 years. If you know in your house, depending on how old your house is, or a lot of times your shrubs get real woody and it's not full, and you have to take them out, and some die, and you have to take one out and put one back in, and as it ages, that's what has to be done. And a lot of the entrances have almost like planter boxes type, and they get root bound. They start expanding, it starts cracking the mortar. So what we're doing is to add color, and it also helps with the watering. You water shrubs and the woody plants differently than you would the annuals. Agrees with the request of many homeowners to provide more color at village entrances. Is consistent with the planning strategy of many HOAs in North Texas, example, Brook Hollow. Significantly reduces the number and cost of landscape projects performed by the 3 landscapers. The landscapers on their contracts have a certain criteria, but anytime that we have to ask them anything more to do, it's an extra, which is more money, and there's a move in and move out cost. So by expanding a lot of these beds at one time, it's a long-term investment, but it's a good investment. With proper scheduling and monitor, we should reduce the water cost. Landscape revitalization. We also completed a major landscape project at Millard Pond. If you're on El Dorado and go north on Stonebridge, about a half a mile, maybe a little bit more, look to the left, and there's a Lake Millard Pond, and you kind of goes up and you see trees. Well, in 1919, we realized, or we observed and got some bids on the trees that were, no grass was under there, it was shade. Some were dead, some limbs had fallen, some trees were overhanging, going to homeowners' property. We were getting some erosion of this dirt that was going into the pond, and we had a storm, and some of these trees fell and broke. So we thinned the tree canopy. We added sod irrigation, and we removed dead and diseased trees for safety. So if you get a chance, you don't have to drive to it. You just look at it from Stonebridge. It looks beautiful. Can you get me back to where I'm supposed to be?
Swipe it to the right. Swipe it to the right.
To the right.
Swipe it to the right. There you go. There you go. You're in your section. We're in your section. Now you can tap it. Tap it. There we go.
I'd like to turn it over to Greg Hurst, who's going to be speaking on for Joe Klaus on Social Committee. Amenities Committee.
Thank you, Jim. As Jim mentioned, I'll stand in for Joe Kloss, who's not with us in person today, to talk about the accomplishments of the Amenities Committee. This is the list of members, Tom Fredericks being the chair, Joe is the board liaison, and CMA assisting person is Michael Cawley, who is our maintenance supervisor. The current charter allows for one additional alternate, so if someone has an interest in the amenities area, we certainly would welcome an application. So the strategic goal of the amenities is very much in line with that of the board, creating a long-term amenities master plan that supports the vision of the association to be the premier large-scale master planned community of choice in North Texas. The committee has developed a year-long business process to support achieving the strategic goal. One of the items that was accomplished in 2020 is that they reviewed HOAs with large-scale amenities and size within 25 miles of Stonebridge, put a score on each one of them. They looked at a variety of attributes, which included things like the community grounds, the structures, the water sports, the games in the fields, just to come up with a way to rank and rate those sorts of things. The average score among the HOAs was 49 points. Stonebridge was among the highest scores with 73 points. So they've looked at the data from this benchmarking project and said, how do we utilize that to improve the amenities at Stonebridge Ranch? And they identified a couple of areas that are of interest both to our homeowners, and it has been validated by interest from other associations. So expanding pickleball courts, either adding or expanding existing, and adding possibly a miniature golf course are among the projects that they've targeted to review. Another thing that they've been doing is focusing more on the 20-plus bodies of water that we have. These are great amenities that are expensive to maintain, but if maintained can truly be beautiful for the association, providing a lot of different opportunities for recreation, including use of the walking trails to and from the lakes, some of the fishing opportunities that are there, and they're working on how can they improve the lakes, make that even better for the homeowners. One of the things that we started with last year as a kind of a test run was a complimentary card to allow homeowners to bring in guests without charge to our pool. Continuing this year, we'll formalize that and allow each resident to get 5 complimentary guest passes. That's per household. We now allow it for not only for use of the pool, but also the evening on the veranda event in the summer. And to get that, you can pick up yours at the association office or call, and they'll get that set up for you. A couple of highlights as we went through the year that the committee worked on. They aligned the amenities inventory with the reserve study items. The idea there is that they wanted to make sure that they're counting everything and evaluating everything so that we're reserving adequate funds so we can preserve these type of amenities going forward. They published a map of all ponds and lakes for the homeowner reference on the website. We, as mentioned earlier by Norm, we've completed the dredging of the Winter Haven Pond. And the idea, of course, of dredging these ponds is to make them more attractive visually, to allow our fountains to run, but also for fish management so that we've got more space for the fish and the environment. And also by dredging the lakes, we keep down the amount of algae, which makes the ponds not be very attractive in the hotter months of the year. We are continuing to assess other ponds and dredging opportunities and doing what we call silt studies by a third-party vendor to understand the depth of the lakes and the depth of the silt. And when the silt gets to be too great, that's the time where we have to go in and dredge them. So that's an ongoing natural project. Also completed monthly inspections of all of our playgrounds, gazebo buildings, ponds, trash receptacles, and benches, with an eye out for how they're aging, what type of safety issues we might find, and correcting those. And recently, we've begun inspecting the lakes and the ponds, providing a report card as to the health and the needs of each of the areas of the lakes. We've added several trash containers and benches in areas of need. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the liaison to the Communications Committee, Amanda Batson.
Hello, everybody. We're so glad to see you. Glad you're here, and we are glad to have everybody on Zoom tonight, too. We were really pleased to have a hybrid opportunity and want to grow these opportunities to have more and more chances to communicate and to stay in touch, and that's what this is really all about. First of all, I want to say a special shout out to the members of the Communications Committee. We have a great team. They are all homeowners like yourselves. They're volunteers. And our 6 members, Chuck Collins, Maureen Dudley, Courtney Huggins, who's our secretary, Matt Miller, who is our recently elected vice chairperson, Allison Pitts, and Afsana Talai. And then I serve as the board liaison. So we have a very active committee, and we are super supported by staff. Erica Lee, who's here, and if you'll shout out Erica or raise your hand, we're glad to have you, and Greg that provides support. The other thing I would say, and I'll get into this in just a few minutes on the types of channels, but remember that the staff, and we have a superb staff provided by our management company, CMA, and they are extremely responsive. If you have a concern, or you have a question, or you're even just wondering, why are we doing this or that, please reach out. Please call, send us an email, and we'll talk about some of those ways you can connect. We have an online form, and the staff is extremely responsive. So I noticed the other day, Greg copied us on a communication with a homeowner, and he had responded to the homeowner within the hour. And so it's a two-way street. We need to hear from you, and we certainly will be back in touch. In Stonebridge Ranch, we have 6 channels of communication. The preponderance of those are public, and that is the fact that anyone can actually access them. And we have our news magazine, of course, and we'll talk about the details of those. Our e-news blasts, and remember, you need to opt in to receive those emails. We have our website, and you've heard it mentioned several times tonight, but it is just robust, a very rich resource. Our text messaging program is in a beta form, and we'll give you a little teaser to what we think might be coming next. And as John mentioned, we were really happy to roll out our official Facebook page, our Facebook group, in July of last year. And as homeowners, you have a private access. So please, if you've not activated that, please do so. CMA operates through the Sync web service, web access, and you can access your account. And as Kristen mentioned, you can handle modifications, you can check on payments. There's a direct line of communication through our website, and there's a mobile app. And we are really happy that that has rolled out in the last, actually 6 months. Well, our magazine is our premier tool, and we hope that you will please at least skim it every month. We spend a lot of time trying to give you the very latest, the most accurate, in-depth reporting. It's published, printed, and distributed each year at zero cost to our homeowners. At zero cost to our homeowners. It is a direct mail, and we drop 9,400 copies every month into the Stonebridge community. So it is a fabulous way to reach out and to connect with homeowners. It really is in-depth reporting, and every month We choose and we focus on topics that are really of high priority. One example, and you heard our treasurer, Norm, speak of this earlier, obviously for all of us, our budget and our assessments are really important. And we totally did a deep dive in December of our 2020 issue on those very matters. And so if you need and want something at your fingertips, your magazine is the way to go. We are also adding some short form features, some more bulleted news that we think will be really great to kind of skim through, see a highlight or two, and then decide if you want to go deeper into that topic. We have our e-news blast, and these are emails that come directly to your preferred email address. In fact, I think we got one today. As I'm recalling. Is that right? Yes, we did, didn't we? Yes. To talk about this election and our meeting tonight. We have a little over 6,200 subscribers. They are the most current updates, especially in pool season, and last year was a great example. Erica just probably typed her fingers off because with executive orders changing frequently, we were announcing if there were going to be capacity limits or not, and so you would get an email that would say kind of what was going on with the pools and with the activities in Stonebridge Ranch. However, friends and neighbors, this is opt-in, and so we need you to please go out and give us your preferred email address, and this is where you'll find the option, which is, let me go back one page, whoops. Swipe to the right to go back. Thank you, John. There. At the bottom of every page on our website, there's a little area that says Stay Connected, and we have it circled for you on the slide. It's as easy as putting in your email address, and we would love to have you stay connected with our e-news blast. It's a great way to stay current. Then we come to our website, which is just growing and has been such a great resource. It is another really comprehensive availability for you. It's designed with 5 hubs in mind, focused on the resident homeowner, the landlord, the tenant, the realtor, and prospective residents. During 2020, we had more than almost 52,000 site visits, and it is the go-to place for current news on social events, on home modifications. All of our design guidelines are posted there. And so if you have any questions at all about modifications or changes that you want to make to your home, that is a great place to start to get information. We really have curated content just for you, focused on your particular area of interest, and I think we're all interested in the excellence that's Stonebridge Ranch. Our top 5 pages on the website are our events, our premier amenities, the Beach and Tennis and Aquatic Center, our village guidelines, and our resident homeowner hub. We were really excited last May to launch a beta program for texting. And we've been pretty pleased with that beta program. We have a little over 1,000 subscribers. This is another opt-in. We feel like we can kind of take this up a notch. So we are going to be working on a next iteration, a next generation texting service. So sign up now and get ready to have a more improved service over the next few months. We send out really important reminders. Those of you that are subscribed got a reminder today about the meeting tonight with a link into our website and a reminder about the Zoom connection for our Zoom audience. So it is a sign up, and you can sign up on our website. Last July, we launched the official Stonebridge Ranch Facebook group, and I am using the operative word official because this is a group that has a little over 2,300 subscribers. It is public. We would welcome you joining this. Posts can be shared village to village, and you can sign up on our website. It is the only trusted source in social media for accurate and correct information related to Stonebridge Ranch. We know that there are many social sites, and we read sometimes with information that's on other sites, and we're like, oh dear, not correct. Please come to either our Facebook group or our website, or even better, pick up the phone and call somebody at the office to get information. So we want you to have accurate and factual information, and we want to be sure that your privacy is protected and the privacy of our group remains protected. So our group is closed to comments, but we do want to hear from you, and so we ask that you reach out the multiple other ways that we've provided. Now, let's move to the matters that are probably perhaps the most important to you, and that's you and your home and where you are as a member and as a homeowner in Stonebridge Ranch. Currently, on our CMA sync access, we have 7,720 registered users. You can sign up, if you've not done so, through our stonebridgeranch.com website. Please keep your information up to date, but it is your source for private functions. And when you think about going out to this particular site, you can access through our homeowner account login, and it's right at the top of the page, as you can see. We have circled that for you tonight. Anytime, day or night, you can pay a fee, set up a banking transfer, upload a mod app, even review compliance notices that might have been attached to your account. So it's a really handy tool, and CMA keeps it current and keeps it very responsive. A second feature that that CMA has added to the services related to our private accounts is a mobile app, and they are available on our mobile phones, so you need to go, if you would like to, we would encourage you to go out and download that app. You can check account balances, again, the status of mod apps, compliance notices, and so forth, but it makes it mighty convenient, literally in the palm of your hand, to be managing your own account with related to your Stonebridge property. Well, Communications has 3 strategic goals for 2021. We want to maximize our communication channels. We want to increase engagement. So again, it's a two-way street. We will give, and we hope you will let us hear from you. And we certainly will promote our premier benefits. I have to tell you, I think our committee is the luckiest one that's up here, because we have such a great story to tell. I mean, it is just amazing, all of the amazing news, exciting opportunities, and what it really means to be community. And that's the part about Stonebridge that is probably one of the most special features ever. We will always commit to providing you with accurate and timely information so you can make good decisions, good investments to enhance the return on your investment as a property owner. And that's really, really what it's about. And that's the reason Stonebridge has been here 30 plus years. So we want to say, like the old ad, got questions? Many of you remember, like I do, like got milk? Well, got questions? Please reach out. Please email, and this is the address. Give us a phone call. Use our online form on our website, or certainly feel free to drop by in person. As John mentioned at the top of this program, we're still really supporting healthy, safe environments for our staff and volunteers and homeowners. So when you come to the office, you'll probably be, we would, encourage wearing masks, but we want you to connect with us and come to see us. So finally, keep in touch. Contact us. Please go out, take this drop-down menu, and you'll find multiple ways to reach out and connect with Stonebridge Ranch. So we are delighted that you have put annual meeting on your agenda. And with that, I am going to introduce Jim Berkeley, who is the board liaison for our social committee. Jim?
Thank you very much. Let me get this up. There we go. So as I was introduced, you can tell that I'm the liaison for the Social Committee. And the Social Committee's purpose is to make fun, have fun. And the way we do that is to offer a wide variety of activities for families and give you a chance to get out and meet your neighbors and have fun and make Stonebridge a fun place to live and to raise a family. Before I get into what we actually do, I'd like to introduce the members of the committee. Cheryl Shuren serves as the chairman of the committee. Priscilla Wurtenberger is our secretary. Barbara Geiger is a member. Richard Jernigan, who's here, I see Richard, he's actually the guy that's most active in pursuing the bands that play for Evening in the Veranda or concerts on the Circle. Richard does a great job of finding some really great musicians to help us out. Bruce Singer, Bill Arnold, Leanne Elliott, and Michael Yan serves as an alternate on the committee. All these people are volunteers and give a morning of their day once a month to help us plan the activities in the future and the activities in the upcoming weeks ahead. I'd like to thank them on behalf of the board for the time they give and for the great job they do. The Social Committee conducts a wide variety and a great number of activities throughout the year. In the pictures moving from left to right, you can see some of the activities that we've done in the past year. The Winterfest Marshmallow Roast is the picture at the top left. That was held a week ago tomorrow at the community center. Next in the center top is a picture of a guy holding a nice bass at the Big Bass Fest. That adult tournament is held once a year on Lake Stonebridge. It was held most recently a week ago this coming Saturday, where we had 20 hardy souls around the lake, and we actually had people catch fish with water temperatures in the high 40s, which was amazing. Next to that is Stonebridge Ranch Day at the top right. Moving down to the bottom row is a really fun event, the wine tasting that we hold out on the patio. We had 60 people show up in October. That event was catered by Zen Zen, who suggested wines to match with the food that they were going to bring to the event. It was a lovely night, and to top it off was a great Cabernet and some very good strip steak. So if you didn't go, you missed a good one. The center bottom is a picture of the Ghost Walk, which is held in the weeks prior to Halloween. We made adjustments to that event this year given the reality of COVID, but it was a great time and it had a great turnout of children and adults both. And the kids got some candy, imagine that. And then the Christmas tree lighting, which is an annual event. One of our bigger events, we had 300 people this year that attended in the evening just a couple of weeks prior to Christmas. So the committee, like all of us, faced a big challenge this year. With the advent of COVID, we were faced with a very new way of doing business. We lost 2 months of activities because of the restrictions and quarantine in place. But after that relief, the committee got to work together with John, the president of the board, working with the city and county in putting together actual plans to provide safe and healthy events that would comply to the guidelines that existed at that time. In spite of COVID, we held 72 events this last year that were attended by 5,800 plus residents of the community. We've added some new events. I mentioned the wine tasting, which we added some spritz to by getting it catered by Zinzin. The Ghost Walk Tour was new this year, Jazz on the Circle, and Tuesday DJs at the Beach, which were enjoyed by good crowds considering. The signature events that we do each year, you can read the list. I'm not going to bore you by reading it to you, but each of those events are major events. We put a lot of effort into it, and a significant amount of our limited budget is dedicated to each one of these specific events. I encourage you to attend them. It gives you a chance to get out and meet people that you might not necessarily get to have a chance to meet, and make an opportunity to broaden your awareness of the people that live where you do and have a good time at the same time. The calendar of the events is posted on the website and in the monthly magazine. The monthly magazine highlights what's upcoming in that particular month and maybe the next month, but look at the calendar on the website and look at the magazine if you have a chance to know what is coming up. Other than that, I'm done. Thank you all for attending. I'll turn it back over to John.
That concludes our presentations for the evening. And so the formal part of our meeting is just about over. I do want to make a comment to thank our board for their hard work this past year. I think you can tell from the presentations they made that they spend a lot of time. It's a act of love, I think, on the part of the people on the board because of the time commitment that they give to do all the things that they do. It's not easy, but it is fun for those of us that are doing it. I think if you think back to Norm's financial presentation, we are so fortunate to have a group like that to manage our finances. I don't even want to think what it would cost us to buy that kind of talent. I would say to those of you watching at home, thank you for joining us this evening. We appreciate that and hope you found our presentations interesting. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting, so I'll accept a motion for adjournment. I see one back there, I think. And do I have a second? Yeah, on the right, over here. All right, all in favor? So I declare this meeting adjourned. Now, the next part of the meeting, part I'm sure you've all been waiting for, is we have Mayor George Fuller here to give us a presentation on the state of the city. I think you're going to find it interesting, and if I know George, if he has time, he probably will entertain a few questions. George, would you do that? Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to him, and we'll hear what he has to say. I think you'll find it really interesting.
Do you have a...
Yeah, come up here, and I'll show you what to do. Just tap on the right side, and it'll take you to the next slide.
Thank you. Thank you, John, and the whole board. All right, I'm going to go through these somewhat quick because I'd like to get to questions and answer, give you information on what you are curious about. This is, as you already know, our Stonebridge Ranch annual meeting. I'm going to grab my glasses. Not that I need them, but there's some people out there that are wearing them. I want to make them feel, comfortable. My wife, Maylee, keeps telling me I have to get the one contact. And you know, this actually doesn't help at all, so it's out of focus, I guess, huh? Yeah, no, it's all right. I'll go with this. Yep, all right. McKinney, that's our council goals and strategies. We go through this at every annual meeting. I won't read them for you. I think everyone here knows what they are. No, it's okay. John, to go back, do I... This is just some of the partners. You know, we've all been through, of course, a difficult year with COVID and then the vaccines this year that we have been implementing in the city of McKinney. We have a lot of partners in that. Our MISD, Collin College, our Medical City, Baylor Hospital, and our fire department. I think we just finished or gave our 31,000th vaccination. It's pretty good, right? Yes, our fire department truly deserves so much credit. This is a slide that will tell you about what I just told you. So, different things that we've done this year. Economic, growth that we have. Some of the new projects. Everyone here, I think, is familiar that we have the AT&T Byron Nelson for the next 5 years. And yeah, and this year, I believe what they've decided, now it may change with what just got announced by the governor, but as of now, they're planning on 10,000 spectators. May or may not change, I don't know. Obviously, what the hope is next year and the next 4 years, and if we have anything to say about it for the future, all future events of the Byron, it will be, of course, wide open. Encore Wire, that's one of our largest employers. They're building another 750,000 square feet right now. Tubbs Brewery, I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. Relocation, their expansion project. Hub 121, if you're not familiar with what's going on at 121 in Alma in that area, very exciting. Lots of retail, restaurant. We've got some first Class A spec office building, 8-story that's going up there. Independent Bank is now building, started construction on their second phase. So a lot of things going on at Hub 121. There's an entertainment venue, amphitheater, SRS office building. You've probably seen them. They moved in probably 6 months ago now. RPMX headquarters is announced, large construction company in the corporate headquarters area. And then Hardin and 380, the retail development, that's continuing to move rapidly. We also have 380 and Custer. If you're not familiar with that project, there's some really exciting things that are going to happen there entertainment-wise. Operational excellence. Our 2021 citizen survey is underway. Last year, we had a 90% overall citizen satisfaction. We continue to receive awards throughout the city, including 75 organizational development training for city staff. The airport. We are for those who don't know, the 78th busiest airport in the country. We have a runway extension that is under design right now, another 1,500 feet. We've restarted the construction of the new terminal building. That'll be complete this year. And we have 10 new condominium hangars under construction. That will amount to about 40,000 feet. Our tax rate this year, first time, no new revenue tax rate. We are very, very proud of that. And that's in a year of COVID and sales tax revenues that, unlike any of our cities around us, did not drop to the extent that most did, but we still, of course, suffered revenue streams that declined to some extent, but we were able to have a no new revenue tax rate. Our, as it says, sales tax collections, despite the pandemic, stayed fairly strong. We had months of 12% growth, which is pretty amazing. We reaffirmed our 5-star transparency status. We have received excellence awards from the Government Finance Officers Association for the 36th consecutive year. We have completed the expansion of the John and Judy Gay Library. Old Settlers, if you've not been out there, we have started improvements to that park. You'll see something in a minute that will show you what's happening. We've completed $2 million renovation of Finch Park, the $8 million expansion of the tennis courts. We're replacing play equipment throughout the entire city and parks, installed the outdoor fitness gym at Bonnie Wenk, and new scoreboards at all sports facilities, fields. We are among the safest city to live in the state of Texas, over 100,000. We maintain the highest insurance service office, ISO classification for our fire department. We have an approximate 5-minute fire EMS average response time. We added a funding for a mental health coordinator for our police. And we were the first municipal court in Texas to use Zoom. If you ever on a game show and there's a trivia question for that, you will know that it was McKinney. Our municipal complex, we're building a new complex, and we are going to be building it on the east side of Highway 5. We've purchased the land. We are in design of that complex now. It'll be on the north side of Virginia, just to the west of, south of Lamar, west of Throckmorton Street. And with that it's a catalyst project. There's been a lot of discussion on social media, if you've seen it. The idea of building the City Hall on the east side of Highway 5 is to have it serve as a catalyst project for redevelopment, infrastructure redevelopment, businesses, jobs, amenities, retail, restaurant, to really jumpstart development over there while implementing a number of strategies that protect residents that are there now and have been living there. We have an overall vision for downtown. You can see over on the left side the purplish hue, reddish hue. That is our current downtown McKinney, the square, of course, the dark square, the Impact Center. And you can see the improvements that are over in Settlers Park that are happening now under construction. But what we want to do is we want to extend the footprint of downtown. Right, downtown is a wonderful gem in the city of McKinney. People travel here from all over to come to our downtown. We believe that we have the opportunity right now to extend that, bring that same charm, maintain the character with obviously thoughtful planning, all the way over to the east side of the railroad tracks and Highway 5. Right now, what you see on the left is the current site of the City Hall. We hope to have that drastically improved to something closer to the right side. And as I said, we're under design right now for that building. It'll be a campus, probably 185,000 feet for the municipal facility just by itself. Tubbs Brewery. A lot of people have been talking about Tubbs Brewery. The site on the left is a picture of the acreage that was purchased by MEDC. Tubbs Brewery expansion that's one of their first drafts on the right-hand side. Outdoor entertainments, obviously the microbrewery and the tap room, but a lot of community spaces within that 12 acres. Over Highway 5, I've been working on this for years. We are working with TxDOT to take Highway 5 subgrade underneath from south of Louisiana to north of Virginia and put a pedestrian cap, if you will, over Highway 5. A park. Has anyone been to Clyde Warren Park down in Dallas? Then you know what that looks like. The idea would be, again, in that expansion of the downtown footprint, you'll walk from historic downtown to historic Mill District, and you'll never cross a main street. Highway 5 will be below. A development report. I won't take you through all that. But we have been working extensively on the snapshot section of our website. If you go to mckinneytexas.org/snapshot, you will see every kind of stat on permits, construction, everything going on in the city related to projects. Population, I think when we have the full census back, we'll see we're about 205,000 actually. Median income, 90,725. You can see the rest of the statistics. How do you stay connected? If you take a snapshot of that, or you go to our website, you will see all of all these social media and websites available for information of everything from entertainment to government. that might be it. So I went through that quick because I want to answer questions. Come on, someone's got a question for me. What's that? I can't hear you. No, I still can't hear you, sir. I don't know what he said. So we'll go to the next question. I don't know why I can't hear you over there. No, 380. So 380 is in the environmental phase stage. TxDOT is doing environmental phase studies on several different routes. They've published them. There's some more public outreaches, if you will, where they will gain further input from the public. They are looking at everything from, although it's highly unlikely, if not impossible, that they will widen in place on 380, but they still list it as something they're doing an environmental phase study on. And then there's the bypass, different options you've seen. One goes through Prosper on the west side, one doesn't go through Prosper. We are fighting against that, the one that's been published with the 90-degree turn, basically, both north and east. And then on the airport, we're working with TxDOT. We very much want to see the 399 spur connecting to 380 on the east side of the airport. We have big plans for the airport. People ask me all the time about commercial service, passenger service. We are working diligently towards passenger service at TKI. And having that on the east side would be very important, the highway, for keeping traffic from coming through the main part of the city to get to the airport. I saw a question back there.
You already answered it.
Oh, I did? Okay. Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask about the TUPS thing. I've been hearing a lot of buzz online, folks accusing the city of giving $10 to $13 million, depending on who the poster is, to TUPS, directly from city coffers, and it doesn't seem like that's a true story.
Yeah, so the city hasn't given anything to TUPS. What the city, MCDC, which is McKinney Community Development Corporation, back in 2006, if anyone here in 2006 going down to the square when the courthouse was a courthouse boarded up pigeon home, pigeons lived in it with a fence around it, MCDC invested about $13 or $14 million ultimately to restore that. Now, if you remember the square prior to before that became the Community Performing Arts Center, you remember the square, the businesses, many empty spaces. You remember the type of businesses that were there. It was not a vibrant downtown square that we have today. So why did MCDC invest that money and rehabilitate that property? Well, we all enjoy the downtown square. That was a catalyst project. So MCDC invests often in catalyst projects. Now that project, of course, there's a value to the MCDC, to the impact. There's no return on that investment. We don't get that money back. But it was an investment that has a lot of collateral benefit. On TUPS, MCDC is building and owning. They will own a facility. Actually, it's a number of facilities. And by the way, that 12 acres and that land or that TUPS will be on, part of it is for TUPS. I wish I could tell you who some of the other restaurants and venues that we're talking to right now, but I'm under an NDA on two that I'd love to share. But exciting. If I told you, you would all want to come and hug me, and I'd have to fight you off because they're restaurants we all love, but private, family-owned, but known in this area. That investment by MCDC will be, again, for a catalyst project, right? We're building the City Hall across the street, or basically across the street. We've got a Clyde Warren-type park over Highway 5, which the city will not pay for. TxDOT, through various programs, are committed to pay for that park and that amenity for the city, which is a $60, $70 million amenity. And then again, TUPS Catalyst Project will own it. They will pay rent, a small rent, not a market rent, right? Some people are looking at that and saying, "Oh, that's not a deal that would make sense in the business world." No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't make sense. You and I would not build that building. The building's going to be $11 million. And lease it for what TUPS will lease it for. We wouldn't do it unless we knew that it was a catalyst project that was going to foster a lot of other development. But also we would do it because right now we've got MCDC, like when they did the project and the Impact, the Performing Arts Center, with cash just sitting in a bank. They're going to invest in this real estate and own it. Ultimately, it's paid off. We also, by the way, get 2% of the gross revenues from TUPS while we do this deal with them, public-private partnership. There's a lot of talk about the parking lot next door to it, that TERS money was used for a parking lot. TERS money was used for a parking lot. Every single parking lot that everybody here parks in downtown, maybe an exception, one or two, the city has paid for. We pay for all the parking downtown. So if you're going to a restaurant, like if you're going to, I see Tom back there, if you're going to the pantry or you're going to Rick's, you park in a city-owned parking lot. Same thing on the other side of town, because we're doing the same town center district type zoning. So we want the middle district to look like downtown. So we don't want a restaurant or a business with a lot of surface parking. So the city will be spending the money for parking garages and parking lots just like we do on the east side. It is right next door to Tups, as is the parking lot that's next door to Cadillac or the Yard or any of the other parking structures. So that's what's really happening at Tups. There's a lot of false information, misinformation, but that's what we're doing at Tups. Yes? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. So I think you're asking me about Councilman Shemwell? Right, so. Sure. Chris Tomlinson was the gentleman that was put forth, nominated by one of the, nominated may not be the absolute correct word, but put forth by one of the council members. Actually, yeah, I'll say that. He nominated him. Chris Tomlinson came in, wanted to serve. He's been a generational resident in McKinney. And as odd as it is, Chris Tomlinson believed that he lived in District 1. He was on the wrong side of the street to be in District 1. When it was researched, they vetted him through the city staff process, again, unfortunately, in the geo-fencing map, it appeared that he was in District 1. So he in all appearances, unfortunately, that were incorrect. He had looked like he was a District 1 resident. If you were to talk to Mr. Tomlinson, that's where he identifies. In his mind, he's a District 1 resident, but he unfortunately is 11 feet, 2 inches outside of District 1. So it was very unfortunate, and I don't want to beat up our staff at all. The staff researched it, made a mistake, plain and simple. So he stepped down immediately upon that being identified, and Angela Richardson Woods was appointed. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so the City Hall is going to be, again, another large campus, kind of like Tups, right? Tups is going to they'll have the brewery and the tap room, but then there's outdoor spaces, amphitheaters, outdoor venues, park spaces, water features, kid spaces, adult play spaces. Same over at the municipal facility. Maybe not the kid spaces and whatnot, but outdoor community gathering spaces. There'll be mixed use, restaurants, office. It's a large project. We've got a fantastic team that's designing with us right now. As I said, we're in the middle of that process. But we will have, between the Tups site and the municipal complex, I mean, we'll develop pretty much 24 acres as a catalyst project. There's some exciting things happening right now with the flour mill and some of the other businesses down there they're recognizing. I mean, it's what happens, right? When you start a catalyst project, when you invest, like we're investing over there, well, everyone sees that starting to happen. So we have now the flour mill that knows it's now the right time for them to invest. So they're talking about a tremendous investment to create just a wonderful use for that building. Matter of fact, multiple uses for that building. Talking about from boutique hotels to rooftop restaurant and bar. So those are things that happen when you, of course, start to catalyze an area and when you start to invest in an area. Again, I go back to the downtown example with the MPAC. Yes, sir. Throckmorton. Want me to give you history on them or talk about statue? Okay. I give you the history because I heard the history, and I actually heard two different perspectives, so we'd have to have two different meetings. You know, The short of it is, on the Throckmorton statue, it is a protected statue, number one. So if the city wants to do anything with that statue, if we wanted to remove it, if we wanted to move it, if we wanted to alter it, if we wanted to put a plaque, anything we want to do to that statue requires approval at the state level. It's a historical artifact. It is regulated. If it was decided that the statue should be moved or wanted to be moved, you would have to have that approved, the location approved, how it was going to be moved approved, who's going to move it approved, how it's going to be installed approved. It's a big process. So leading up to the night or the week that we're going to make that decision, bless you, it was always thought that the county museum, Collin County Museum, was an option. It was an option because there was a lot of dialogue and they had said it was an option. And it became apparent and evident to council that just literally a day or so, or the day of maybe, that it was no longer an option. So we did not vote on the statue, not because it was a foregone conclusion that it be moved. That was not the case at all. But it was a foregone conclusion that we did not have a option B. So you can't vote on option A or option B with no option B. So where we are today is that statue remains. There is other locations that are being discussed, and if a suitable location presents itself and the state approves it, then we will be back at City Council to discuss it again. Anyone else? All right, well, thank you all so much. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you, remember, there is an election coming up. There's a lot of, I'm not even self-promoting, but there is an election. It's really important to get out and vote. And there's also a school bond election. It's a 4-part bond, so you should definitely look into that. There's school board positions that are up. Big election. You know, our kids, our independent school district, and city government. So, big election. And May 1st is the election. April 19th through the 27th is early voting. So thank you for letting me share with you what's going on. And let me say, if anyone has questions, again, social media is a great thing, and it's a horrible thing. A lot of bad information, especially this time of year. So this time of season. So if you have questions or you see something that doesn't sound right to you or it piques your interest or concern, email me. My email is george@mayorfuller.com, gfuller@mckinneytexas.org. My phone number is published. My Facebook is available. Reach out to me. I'm completely accessible. I want to answer any question. Please beware. A lot of bad information floating around for lots of reasons. Yep. Yeah, you know what I do want to say? John was just asking about the storm. I want to brag on McKinney residents for a minute. We all expected the storm, but we didn't expect the power to go out, right? And I know there's a lot of people that had no power or they had power on and off. If you didn't know, there was nursing homes with no power. There were people on life-supporting equipment that the power went out. Yes, they have backup generators, but not prepared to go 5 days. Then fuel started running out. They couldn't get gas, couldn't get trucks. So it was a scary time for a lot of people, and for some, life-threatening. And Monday morning, when we realized the power is out and looks like it might be out for a while, we put out an email. I created an email, help@mayorfuller.com, and published that and got it out social media-wise. And we asked people, if you have a specific need, right? Not turn your power on, because if I could, I know there were people that thought I was in front of a switchboard deciding who had power. I promise you I did not. I had no power over that. The city didn't. But if you had a need that we could help, I wanted you to tell me, let us know. And I also asked if you wanted to help, if you had the ability to help in any way, shape, or form. And we only at that point had just an inkling of an idea of what we might need. We knew there would be people that need water. We knew there were people that would need blankets, firewood. we ended up finding out people need oxygen tanks. I had people calling, that volunteered. We had hundreds and hundreds of people. This young lady and young man in the back, or right here, Al and Lisa Perry, manned the email station for 5 days straight. I swear, never left that screen. But we had residents from all over. One woman drove to Dallas, picked up oxygen tanks, brought them back. We had firewood being delivered all over the place. We had water being delivered all over the place. We had truckloads of water, truckloads of food. It was an amazing thing, and it was people out here. And it was our churches, our first responders throughout the whole process. But it was really great, and it was a beautiful thing to see so many people jump in. We ultimately had, or quickly even, had more resources than needs, which was a great thing, because we had hundreds of needs, 1,000 needs, but many more people that wanted to help. So matter of fact, I'm going to release a video tomorrow just highlighting some of those people, and when you see it, it'll be on social media. I encourage you to watch it, because it's really touching, and what people did in this community will warm your heart at a time when, there's not always a lot of things that might warm your heart. So look at it and appreciate your neighbors, and many in here, I'm sure. So. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And if anyone knows my wife, I'm married to Maylee Thomas. So if I was not of the mindset, Maylee would have had me in the mindset in a moment's notice. A Monday morning when it was freezing, the first thing she said is, "We've got to get over to Dungan Street and check on everybody." And I said, "Well, hold on. Well, no, we can't. We got to go right now. I'll go and I'll just go do it myself." No, hold on. First of all, you're not driving in the ice, and you're not going knocking on doors by yourself. So that's my wife, and I plug her because she's a wonderful heart and soul that cares about this community. And thank you, and I'll pass that on to her. Thank you all.
Thank you again, George. We appreciate you sharing your time and the information you provided to us. He's a busy guy. He's everywhere all the time. I don't know how he does it. Well, with that, George mentioned one thing, and I just want to make a comment about it. And he said we're looking at some entertainment possibilities at Custer and 380. That's true. We, at the board level, are aware of what's going on there and following it closely, but there's really nothing to announce at this point. It's moving along, and it's likely to occur, but that's all I can tell you. We're watching it. I don't have anything to announce, and if there had been anything, I'm sure Mayor Fuller would have announced it. So, thank you all for coming, and this closes the meeting, and we'll see you all next year.